Hey everyone, this week we are sharing all of our favorite holiday recipes with you. Remember, 7 days, 7 holiday recipes, and today we're talking about challah bread. So let's get started. Alright, welcome back to Heartway Farms. We are so glad you guys are here with us today and all week as we share these recipes with you. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything that we have going on here at the farm. But let's talk about bread. We are big fans of bread. Julianne and Marie both, and even Elise. Elise makes like banana bread and stuff. All my girls like to make bread, and you guys have already seen us make our homemade crusty bread recipe. We have a video about that if you want to check that out. But today we're talking
challah bread.
Challah bread. Okay, so at every holiday meal, you have got to have that staple, amazing bread recipe. And that is exactly what this recipe is. It is so good. If you like those sweet Hawaiian rolls, this is in that same category. It's more of like a sweeter bread. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, our challah is a little bit different than the traditional challah. It's a lot sweeter, a little bit doughier.
It's the best. It's so good, you guys. You'll have to try this out. So Julianne has come up with this recipe and she wanted to share it with all of you today. And you guys, it's a little bit more work than like a crusty bread, which you guys can check out. But it's worth it. And so yeah. Let's get started. Okay. Let's do it. What do we need first?
So we have a cup and a quarter of warm water. It's probably around 100 degrees. And I'm just gonna pour that into my KitchenAid. Along with a half a cup of honey.
This is our raw honey that we have here at the farm, which is also the best. Any of you guys who raise bees or have a raw honey source, you know that just can't compare it to it.
And then I have 3 tablespoons of olive oil. This. Can you give me the sourdough starter?
Yes. Look at this beautiful sourdough starter. Are you going to talk about that, Jules?
Yes.
Okay.
So we need a cup of sourdough starter. If you do not have sourdough starter though, you can mix a cup of flour, a cup of warm water, and around a teaspoon of yeast, and that can replace it in this recipe. It won't replace all sourdough starter recipes, but it will work in this one.
And we've had it both ways, and both ways are very good. We just love the sourdough flavor that is added to this when you can use the starter, and it makes it really, really yummy.
Yeah, and because this is kind of a quicker bread, the sourdough helps to give it a nice long risen flavor, even though it doesn't rise for that long, really.
That's what I was gonna do. It's my job to clean up after Julianne in the kitchen.
And I'm just gonna mix that until it's all combined. So I have all of my liquid ingredients in here. Just gonna gently mix it all together. I have the hook attachment on my KitchenAid. You can do it in a bowl by hand. I've done it that way many times. Just because this is kind of a large recipe though, it is easier in the KitchenAid. This
makes a excellent size loaf for a get-together, a party, a holiday gathering, which is another nice thing. So like when we make our artisan bread, they're small loaves, but they're excellent, but they're like this big. This makes a party size loaf, which is great, so it's worth the effort.
Okay, now I'm gonna put my mixer on low, and I'm just going to put in about half of my flour right now. And this is 4.5 cups of flour.
Slowly adding it as to not get any clumping or making the mixer work really hard or flour explosion. Yeah.
Okay, I put in about half of my flour, and now I'm going to pour in 2 teaspoons of yeast, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and 2 teaspoons of sea salt. And this is just regular, fast-acting yeast. You can use slow rising, it doesn't really matter. Okay. And I'm just gonna let that combine before I put in the rest of my flour. just gonna slowly add the rest of my flour.
All right, that's incorporating really nicely together. She's making a good quality dough here. Oh, and it smells so good. I know you guys can't smell it, but I can smell the yeast, the sourdough. It just smells beautiful.
I'm just gonna scrape this down real quick.
I would love to hear about some of your favorite doughs and favorite bread recipes that you guys do as a tradition or for holidays. Do you do something different than like an artisan bread or like a challah bread? What do you guys like to make? I'm sure there's roll makers out there. Somebody, Jules makes some good rolls too, but.
This is the recipe I use for making my rolls too. So.
Well, you used to do a different one, but this one's better. And this one reminds me of like the Hawaiian rolls when you make it. But it's just so fun to have a beautiful, you guys will see it, a beautiful spread loaf. Yeah, a big braided loaf. It makes it really fun. All right, so you see you're taxing our KitchenAid a little bit.
I'm just gonna let it do all the hard work for me. It's gonna knead in here for probably like around 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
And then we're gonna let it rise. Well, we're gonna cover it with plastic wrap, and then we're gonna let it rise from anywhere between 2 to 6 hours. We'll see how long this rises for. And then we're going to knead it and braid it, and then let it rise again, and then finally bake it.
All right. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Can I cover it?
Yep. And we'll go let this rise by our oven because it's on.
A few hours, and we'll check back in with you guys and show you how to make the loaf.
Our challah dough has been sitting for around 2 hours now, and now we're going to shape it into the nice loaves.
Oh, it smells so good. Smell that yeast and that sourdough.
And then we are just going to flour our work surface.
You guys know we don't have a lot of kitchen space. We have kind of a tiny kitchen, but we have a large dining room table. So that's why out here we do all the things.
Then I'm just going to scrape this lovely dough out of its bowl. I'll let you have my spatula in a second.
I'll use yours in a second. I was hoping it would just come, but it's not.
No. We did have to make a double batch of this because we're eating it tomorrow at a family meal.
And we have a large family, so we needed 2 loaves. But you're gonna see the recipe that Julianne shared earlier is a single loaf recipe. But this is good so you guys can see what we do on a normal basis.
And I'm just going to gently fold the loaf over itself, get it well coated in flour because it is a stickier dough.
Definitely. And a thick dough.
I'll get some more flour.
You would think it would end up being dense, but it's really just beautiful.
Very fluffy. There. So gently working it. And I'm going to attempt to get it into a nice even ball shape because I gotta cut it into 3 equal sections. Then I'm gonna cut it into 3.
Because you're making, you already said this maybe, but you're making a braided loaf.
Yes. This one I'm gonna move there. There we go. I'm just gonna keep both of those all of the sections nice and floured. and then I'm just going to carefully pull and knead it out into a log. And it's probably, I don't know, 1.5 feet long. And I'm gonna do that with all of them. They don't have to be perfect.
We're home bakers, right?
Yes.
Perfection, just, we care about delicious, not perfection in how they look. Though, I will say, you make beautiful food. You and Marie and Elise all know how to make food beautiful.
That's good.
Okay.
Just gonna divide it into
All right.
3. As even as possible. It doesn't have to be 100% even though.
It's gonna be not even. You can tweak it. There we go.
Okay, now we're gonna line them up and we're going to braid them. Now with braiding them, it can be a little bit tricky, but I only do a 3-strand braid, so it's a little easier. Here. And I don't start from the top end, I start in the middle. So I just pull it over the center. And I braid them pretty tightly.
Do you want me to go get your pan for you?
Sure.
Okay.
I
Just
did
so that we
do
can
it.
get one out of the way.
And then once I finish this part, I take my whole braid, pull it forward, and flip it. And then I braid this side. It's just easier than trying to braid under. I'm just going to squish the ends together, tuck in the ends, and kind of squish the whole loaf a little bit together. And then we're going to go ahead and move it onto my pan. Go.
And we do bake it on parchment paper.
Yes. I don't know if you want to get this part again, just in case someone doesn't know how to braid.
Let's get up close on it.
Yeah. Just because it took me a couple times to figure out how to do this. Yeah. Here. Gently braid, starting at the middle. Pinch it at the end. Flip it. And then keep braiding it. Squish the ends together, tuck the ends under a little bit, and just kind of push the whole loaf together. There. Move it to my pan. And then we're just going to let both of these rise. I'm going to cover them with a dish towel just to keep anything off of them.
Keep dust off of them.
And then, yeah, they're going to rise for around just under an hour, and then we're going to egg wash them and then bake them.
They already look beautiful, don't they, you guys? And remember, the recipe we showed you makes one of these, okay? All right, we'll see you back here soon.
The challah bread has been rising for about an hour now. Now, my oven I've preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm just going to egg wash the loaf. I just beat up an egg. And I'm just going to coat it completely and then bake it for anywhere between 20 to 25 minutes. You'll know that it's done when it's nice and golden brown, and it should be almost a little squishy to the touch, but not too squishy. Oh, that comes mostly, you probably won't be able to tell the first time by touch, but after you've done it a few times, you will.
All right, the challah bread is done and it is beautiful, you guys. It turned out so nice. It's a huge loaf. I'm telling you, it's this big. I don't know if you guys can, like, I'm trying to, you know, sometimes when you try to get, it's huge. It's 1.5 feet long and 8 inches wide. It's huge. So this can feed a whole group of people for a holiday get together. Marie even whipped up some butter with cinnamon and honey to go with it. So I promise you this will not disappoint if you guys serve this at one of your get-togethers. So we hope you enjoyed this video. Try out this bread at home. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss any of our holiday baking videos, and we'll talk to y'all soon.